What would you sacrifice to become the most famous voice in Europe before you were old enough to understand what you were giving up? You are 10 years old, and you wake in a narrow bed in Naples to the sound of your own voice echoing off stone walls. Not your speaking voice, that's still a child's piping whisper, but the voice you produce when you sing. The one that made the maestro grip your father's shoulder last winter and say 3 words that changed everything. He has it. It is 1752 and you are a castrato. The operation happened 2 years ago, in a room you try not to remember. What they actually chose was your larynx, specifically to keep it exactly as it is forever. While other boys your age will spend the next few years cracking and dropping into manhood, your voice will remain suspended in amber. A boy's vocal cords, but soon a man's lung capacity, a man's chest cavity, a man's breath control. The result? A voice that simply should not exist. You don't think about this as you dress. You think about breakfast, milk and bread. You think about the scales you'll run this morning. You think about whether Signor Caffarelli will visit the Conservatorio today. Caffarelli, who was once like you and who now owns a palace and earned fees that rivaled aristocratic incomes. The other possibility, the one where you don't make it, where your voice is merely excellent instead of transcendent, where you end up singing in a provincial church for the rest of your life, that one you don't think about at all. The Conservatorio is already alive with sound when you arrive. Dozens of boys in various stages of training, and every single one of them singing. This is not a school that believes in gentle warm-ups. You've been here since you were 7. You will likely stay until you're 20, if you're good. If your voice, when it fully develops, justifies what was done to you. Your teacher is a former castrato himself, too old now to perform, but possessed of ears that can detect a flat note from 3 rooms away. He makes you sing the same passage from a Handel aria again and again. Not because you're getting it wrong. You stopped getting it wrong several attempts ago, but because there's a difference between correct and transcendent, and transcendence is the only thing that matters. Again, he says, you pull breath from deep in your belly, feel it rise through your chest, and pour it out into a sound that makes the other boys stop and turn. You see it in their eyes, envy and relief. Envy because you have what they want. Relief because you have it, which means they don't have to be the best anymore. They can just survive. By midday, you've sung for 4 hours straight. Your throat feels like warm honey. This is normal. You eat lunch, and then it's time for acting lessons. Because here's what most people don't understand about being a castrato. You're not just a voice, you're a spectacle, an impossibility made flesh. When you step onto a stage, you will often play the hero, the romantic lead, the role that in any sane world would go to a tenor. But you'll be better than any tenor. Your voice will do things their voices can't even attempt. Cascades of ornamentation, leaps between registers that sound like 2 people singing. A pure, soaring quality that makes audiences weep without quite knowing why. This afternoon, you're learning to fence. Not because opera involves much actual sword fighting, but because you need to move like someone who has never doubted their right to take up space. The irony is not lost on you. You are a boy who will never become a man, being taught to swagger like a prince. But you practice anyway. You lunge, you parry, you learn. In the evening, there's a concert. Not for the public, for a cardinal and his guests. This is how it works. Wealthy patrons visit the Conservatorio to discover new talent, the way other men shop for horses. You sing an aria by Porpora, one of the composers who writes specifically for voices like yours, with runs and trills and ornaments that would tie a normal singer's throat in knots. You make it look easy. You make it sound like the most natural thing in the world. A voice floating through the room like something that simply appeared there, untethered to the peculiar body producing it. The cardinal approaches afterward. He doesn't speak to you. You're still a student, still property of the Conservatorio. But you see him talking to the maestro. You see money changing hands. This is good. This means opportunities. This means that when you graduate, you won't be singing in churches. You'll be singing in theaters. Maybe even for kings. Later, alone in your room, you practice in the dark. Not because you need more practice today, but because this is when you can experiment. This is when you can try the things that might not work, the ornaments that might be too much, the risks that might either make you unforgettable or make you look foolish. No one is listening. No one is judging. It's just you and your voice, this strange instrument that was built from your body through an act you still don't have words for. And here's the thing they don't tell you, the thing that sits in your chest alongside all that carefully trained breath. Most castrati never become famous. For every Farinelli, every Caffarelli, every Senesino who retires wealthy and celebrated, there are dozens who end up as church singers. Their voice is beautiful, but not quite transcendent. Their sacrifice noted by God, perhaps, but not particularly rewarded by man. The operation was illegal, technically. The Papal States officially condemned it, but everyone looked the other way. The church needed castrati for their choirs. The opera houses needed castrati for their stages, and parents needed a way to lift their families out of poverty. You were all three of those things: a church loophole, an operatic necessity, and your family's best investment. You're 13 now, though the script of this day could belong to any year of your training. In another 5 years, you'll either be on your way to becoming a legend, or you'll know that you won't be. The voice you have now will be the voice you have forever. It won't deepen, won't crack, won't change. You are frozen at the moment before transformation, and that frozenness is either your fortune or your tragedy. You won't know which until it's far too late to matter. But tonight, in the dark, you sing a phrase that sounds exactly the way you wanted it to sound. And for just a moment, none of the rest of it matters. There is only the voice, and the dark, and the sound of something impossible made real. Tomorrow, you'll wake up and do it all again. You'll run your scales. You'll sing your arias. You'll fence and act and perform for cardinals who see you as an investment, as a curiosity, as anything but a child. You'll compete silently with dozens of other boys who are hoping for the same impossible future. You'll ignore the ache in your throat and the questions you're not allowed to ask, and the life you'll never have. Because the voice is everything. The voice is all you have. The voice is what they took everything else to create. And if you're very, very lucky, if you're talented and disciplined and blessed by fortune, it might actually be worth it. Within 50 years, castrati would begin to vanish from opera stages, replaced by women and tenors as tastes changed and the moral calculations shifted. The last castrato of the Sistine Chapel Choir, Alessandro Moreschi, died in 1922, and we have recordings of his voice. Strange, haunting, unlike anything else in musical history. The thing they sacrificed everything for, preserved on wax cylinder, waiting for anyone curious enough to listen. What would you give to hear what Farinelli sounded like at his peak? Before recording existed, when the only way to experience that voice was to be in the room when it happened, watching something impossible unfold in real time. If you're hungry for more impossible lives made real, more stories of people who became something the world had never quite seen before, hit subscribe, because history is full of them, and we're just getting started.